then I need to do one final walk through a section because I realized I don't have any snarky asshole characters in one part of the book.
Put Doug in it.
Maybe I will.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Welcome to this week's show. Thank you for being here, and thank you to Vellum, the formatting solution. I've been in them a lot in the last week. Got some new stuff going on that just got, when this comes out, it would have been released a few weeks back, but been digging around, getting stuff out to send to beta readers, then getting stuff ready to send to ARC readers, slightly different formatting in a few areas with changes. Super easy to do.
It is so nice how easy it is to change in there and just fix stuff. That is jumping into it to fix it is so quick and easy. Because the other day I had something I had to fix in the book I just put out, and it was easy to find it, put it in there, and make a quick change.
It is. Vellum. It's the dog's Watsits.
It's the dog's what?
Well, I could have said the dog's bollocks. That's the actual phrase, but I stayed clean and said the dog's Watsits because that's the child's alternative to it. All right.
Okay.
That's their new tagline. You wait. You're going to see the ads.
Hey, yeah, you know what? Next month, you and I are doing something cool. We got to tell everybody about that.
outlierswritersuniversity.com. That's outlierswritersuniversity.com. Great group of guys and girls. DP Lyle, a friend of ours, Doug, been on the show. He's one of the main folks over there. He must have had too many drinks one night and asked us to do a presentation in June on writing collaborations, because we've done a few collaborations, especially with each other, which we have coming out. It just so happens next month. Missing in Hawaii comes out in June. I think it's the day before we do this thing. Yeah. June 16th, outlierswritersuniversity.com. And we will be doing, it's about an hour or so live Zoom presentation on writing collaborations. So join us for that. And our guest today, I'm a little excited. I've been chomping at the bit. I've put way too many questions in there to ask Malorie Cooper, because she is a Facebook guru, but we'll get to her in a moment. But first of all, we have a listener question from Ryder O'Malley in Charlotte. And this is kind of funny. Ryder O'Malley is a local writer here. And while we've been in the Charlotte area, I've been getting together with him and some other writers and having some lunches and chats. And they've been great stuff. Super guy. And so he gave us a question. When did you know it was time to invest in your author career?
I could say in 2019, I was still working. I was running a spice plant. If you want trivia about me.
Like the big worms on the planet, like Dune?
Similar, but it was in South Memphis.
Not quite as romantic as the planets in Dune.
Yeah, well, we blended spice seasonings. It was interesting. Everybody's always like, "Hey, that's a really interesting job." I'm like, "No, it's like moving piles, literally." It was not. But I had reached a point. I mean, I was already writing. I'd been published for a long time, but I wanted to be full time, and I realized that it was going to require a certain level that it was hard to do while you're fully employed, 40 plus hours a week. So I kind of just pulled the trigger and knew that if I could either quit my job and make it work within a year, or I was going to quit my job, not make it work within a year, and then just crawl out and find a job, delivering newspapers or something. Thankfully, I had to support my wife. She's the one that kind of told me, "Hey, you need to kind of quit and just kind of do this for your own mental health. This is what you want to do." And it was a dream. And quite honestly, I quit in early 2020. And about mid 2021, I started thinking I might need to go get a job. And then suddenly, all that work for a year and a half kind of took off, and everything kind of took hold. And it really, at that point, I had come into it in knowing I was going to treat it like a business, and that made a big difference. So, what about you, sir?
My situation was a wee bit different because we decided to make some big life changes, and we kind of sold up everything. So we had a little bit of savings that we could fall back on. So I was starting from ground zero pretty much. I had one book I'd written, but hadn't really marketed it properly yet. I immediately was full time, and it was when COVID hit. So we were stationary in Key Largo in our RV, living down there. My sugar mama was Cheryl, my wife, and she got a job locally, and we were living very frugally. So it allowed me time to start punching out some books and figuring it out. And it took a couple of years before the book side of things was truly paying for itself and then making profits. So it's my situation was unique. I had it because it was a second career and I was an adult with a bit of savings. It was unique, but
I don't know that it's way different than most people who are out there writing. I think a lot of people have their first career and writing has never been their first career. So there's a few exceptions. So I think you're probably a lot of the people who are listening are like, hey, I'm working a full-time job. I want to figure out how to make this passion I have into a career. And you can do that while you're doing a full-time job. It's hard and it's going to take a lot of work. But if you treat it like it's a job, which is the big thing, don't treat it like it's a hobby, then you're going to do a lot better. So,
horses for course. You got to look at your situation and see when it makes the most sense for you. What you do need to allow for is when you go out on your own, if you don't have a spouse where you're getting health insurance and things like that, health insurance is astronomical. So just don't get sick. Just wing it.
That's what I did.
You're fine.
I just said, no, I'm just don't get sick and don't get hit by a car, Yeah.
We don't recommend that method, but it's expensive. There's a lot of things and you've got to be able to ride the market, right? So if things happen that impact the market, like right now, it just happens to be in the beginning of 2025, people are nervous about spending money, and books are one of those things that some people stop spending money on. So there's ups and downs in the market. In theory, you're going to grow because you put more books out there, you have more backlist, you have more to market, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to keep growing. And I've been lucky where that's happened for me. But you've got to be able to ride the waves if it does go down a bit for some reason, if a release doesn't go as well as the others have for whatever reason that might be. So just go look at your situation and make sure you have something to fall back on so you're not, losing the roof over your head if you have a bit of a slump.
Why I strip on the side.
That's why you strip on the side. That's why your OnlyFans is just kicking off, people. Kicking off. All right. Before he gets into talking about that, let's get to our guest. New York Times bestselling sci-fi and nonfiction author Malorie Cooper, who's used her marketing skills and software savvy to master the art of Facebook ads, not only for herself, but also a host of clients under her brand, The Writing Wives. Let's chat with Mal. Hi, Malorie, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
And you're broadcasting all the way from Canada.
Yep. New Brunswick.
All right. Well, get us started with a little bit of background of how you started your writing and when you were first published.
Certainly. So I'm one of those people that's been kind of writing all my life. I really kind of took it seriously, and I say that really loosely, when I was about 12 years old. I finished reading Lord of the Rings and didn't have a lot of access to other fantasies. So I just started writing my own fantasy stories and making maps. And I probably wrote like 4 or 5 novels worth of stuff before I was 18. Continued sort of futzing around with it until around 2027, where I got the idea, not 2027, 2007.
I was saying, we just broke out. She's into time travel. It's the whole thing.
Writes sci-fi. It's sci-fi.
Don't tell anyone.
I was just rolling with it. I'm like, wow, she did, huh?
People always joke that I might be from the future. I just kind of keep that down low.
Hey, now you breaking news here. You've accidentally slipped out there. That's okay.
So 2007, I think it was around then, is when the movie Firefly or movie Serenity came out, based on the Firefly ones. And we got to see the sneak previews twice in the theater where we lived in Boston, like before they even had a soundtrack on it, like the first time. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And after seeing it, I'm just like, you know what? I want to switch from writing fantasy. I want to write sci-fi, and I want to write like this swashbuckling crew. And so that's what I did. I started writing that. And then I started putting it out there to agents, trying to get someone who's interested in it. And I got a couple people that asked for the full manuscript, but they would take like forever to even tell you yes or no. And I'm like, wow, it's going to take me the rest of my life to write a trilogy at this pace. So, at this point, it was around 2010. Kindle was starting to get good. And I knew that, but I decided, well, you know what I want to write this sequel. And then I started writing the sequel, and I realized that to write the sequel, I needed to write a prequel because there was a bunch of characters I didn't know well enough, and I needed to kind of write their story to know them. So I wrote the prequel, which eventually turned into a trilogy on its own. And I put that up on Amazon on July 6th, 2012. And that sort of kicked it all off. I've been ever since. Yeah, it was pretty good.
the golden years of Kindle. That's great.
And so now we talked about this before, but I mean, and you currently have how many books out there right now?
I think for fiction, it's 127.
Oh my gosh. And nonfiction, you've got
3 editions of Help My Facebook Ads Suck, one on blurbs, one on planning, and then planning launches, that is, and then one that's sort of autobiography as well.
I'm not surprised you wanted to take a break after 127 novels in a packed amount of time. So you've been on a little bit of a hiatus because you I think you said to us off air, you burnt out. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, 2021, I definitely kind of hit a wall and writing became really hard.
It just felt like work.
It felt like work. And also I got COVID 5 times. I had a lot of brain fog, a lot of memory issues. And there's certain kinds of work I could still do really well, which was like, advertising and working on selling my books, but being creative and writing new books was almost impossible.
So we'll move on to talking about the ads and stuff a little bit, but let's stay with your books for a moment. So it's been a while, but you do have plans to come back to writing.
Yeah. The last solo book that I put out kicks off a new series because my main series that most people know me for takes place during a time period in my universe called the Orion War. And when I wrote the second book in that series, it had 16 POVs. And I realized that was a little bit too much.
A little bit, yeah. That's a lot to run through, so yeah.
So I forked everything off and wrote a whole bunch of parallel series. So there was one main anchor series that followed the events of this war. And it was a massive interstellar war that encompassed about 1 million different worlds. And then because of that allowed me to sort of like pick little areas of things that were going on to kind of highlight different people's stories. And it was a ton of fun to do all of that. And then I wrapped it all up. I kind of brought everything back together into one final focal point. And then I knew that there would then be a follow-on series that would start. And I thought to myself, this time I'm going to do it. I'm a better writer now. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to write all the POVs in one series. And I got book 1 done, and that was easy, right? Because you're just opening up all the plot lines. You don't have to resolve anything. Everything can just end on a big cliffhanger, and you did it. And I got into book 2, and this is when I was starting to also have burnout. And I realized that for me to write all of these plot lines and give any of them any meaningful time in the book and give at least some of them a satisfying end point at the end of the book was beyond my skill level, possibly just impossible as well. So I stripped away over half of the book and decided I am going to split this new thing into multiple series as well. And after doing that, I'm still at 160,000 word book.
Oh,
to give you an idea.
I'm no wonder you burn out. I'm exhausted with what you just explained. And the fact that you're going in and pulling the book apart. I mean, just 160,000 words. You've got to go in. How many times have you read those 160,000 words to go through and pull pieces apart?
I don't think I've ever been over a book as many times as I've been over this book.
Oh, that would kill me.
I'm like this close now. I have 3 chapters to write and 12 just to walk through. And then I need to do one final walk through a section because I realized I don't have any snarky asshole characters in one part of the book.
And put Doug in it.
Oh, dang it.
Maybe I will. Maybe that'll be perfect. I think probably in about 2 months, I'll actually have this thing done. And this thing has, in a way, been kind of like my white whale because I feel like my fans are all expecting it. I probably could have gone off and written other books in the last few years, but I think my fans would have crucified me. They've crucified me anyway at this point. So I guess it was moot. But I guess then I'll get to like write a book about how you come back after not publishing for 4 years.
You're creating your own nonfiction books to write. It's great.
I mean, provided I can pull it off, but I think I can.
How to fuck up and fix it.
Oh my God, that's a great title.
That's a great title, actually.
Wow. You're welcome.
Nick's going to go, trademark.
Yeah, exactly. It's already
trademark that right now. That's it.
In case you haven't figured it out, I could be the snarky guy that blows up in the end too. So.
Apparently, yeah, you both could fit the bill.
We could be just like, hey, a couple of little guys flying in on a little spaceship, and then we're done. So with 126 novels, obviously it sounds like you're planning a lot. So I'm guessing you're probably more of are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm actually a pantser. I know what's happening in the universe. Whenever I start a book, I know where it has to go. But how exactly that individual book is going to get there, I don't know. But the one thing I do have that helps me out a lot is I have a very detailed setting. I know where everything is. I have tons of maps. I understand the technology. I've made sure to put a lot of guardrails around the technology so no one gets the thingamajig that solves all the problems.
I guess that's a good question. That's still kind of plotting to some extent.
It is, yeah, but it's a different kind of plotting.
How do you keep that together?
So before I got COVID 5 times, I had a phenomenal memory and I could just remember everything. Now I'm working on feeding it into AI to create a Bible because AI is very good at I can feed it all in there and then I can query it about things. And it's getting to the point where it's almost right enough that it's useful.
You've written anthologies with a lot of other authors, and that's all in the same universe. So how do you guys all keep that square?
Well, the nice thing is that most of my co-authors are also readers of my books. And I learned actually, if you're going to build a big universe, you're better off finding co-authors in your readership than other authors because they're passionate about your stories and they love them. And it turns out there were a number of really good authors in there. The main thing is when you do something like what I did, you have to have the final word and that has to be clearly communicated right away so that I would say that I'm going to veto you and you're not going to have an option to contest that. And you have to be okay with that. And people that weren't, then they weren't the right fit. And part of that too is because I'm trying to juggle all these plot lines where they're all going. I can't have anyone create some sort of thing that breaks things that someone else is doing.
Are you able then to kind of go back and say, do you have starting points so that I don't have to go start at book 1 to go through 126? Do you have other entry points that you put in there?
Yeah, I've made, with the exception of one series, every series can be a starting point. So there's 23 series now, and you can pick up any of them and just go.
That's good because I think a lot of people who do that, like for me, I just hit 14 books in a series and I started it with a new entry point there. Even though each book's kind of a standalone, I still want to kind of give everybody a new chance to jump in. I think that you have to think about that with that many.
Absolutely. And it's good for marketing too. You don't want to be marketing that same book 1 forever.
So you brought it up. So marketing, can we talk about Facebook then? Because what the hell's going on with Facebook?
I mean, Facebook's kind of always a dumpster fire. From an ad perspective, last January, they switched over the targeting systems to be AI powered. And so the AI can go off the rails and start showing your ad to whoever it wants. Or it just never shows it to the people you ask it to in the first place.
So my AI, and I didn't even know I clicked the AI button. I don't have a problem with the AI targeting. I started getting messages off my ads because I write tropical thrillers. They're kind of like a Travis McGee, John McDonnell feel from the 60s. But Facebook started advertising and saying that I was putting out a new Travis McGee book by Timothy Zahn, who, Timothy Zahn writes sci-fi, not tropical thrillers. I don't know where Facebook pulled that out of.
Yeah, guarantee that you didn't click that. You will leave the AI suggested text off and Facebook will turn some of them on.
I was going to ask you about the Advantage Plus because I don't use any of it. Anything they suggest, my rule is if they suggest it, don't do it. So I'm manually picking everything and that it still has that little bit of text in the end there that Facebook may serve this to.
Yep, that used to be a checkbox. And January of last year, it stopped being a checkbox and just became a piece of text that says, hey, we're doing this. Hope you like it.
Enjoy it.
We don't like it.
We do not. No, it's made it. It's funny because right before that, we started actually running ads for people like an agency. And this is so easy. I have this licked. I can do this in my sleep. And then 3 months in, they turned that on. And it's oh, crap. This just became a job running ads for people because I have to watch them like a hawk now. They're working properly. They're staying on target. They're not, suddenly the reads don't just flatline or something like that. And then all these different tricks now for trying to get the ads back on target.
Oh, so I guess that goes to my next question, which is, are they getting harder to make Facebook ads? Is it just getting more difficult to hit that target right or get the targeting to go where it's supposed to be?
I think it's been relatively steady for the last few months now. In that it's not easy. It just isn't getting any harder. It's just kind of.
Okay. So it's kind of leveled off at what to expect.
Until now, they're going to hear this and be like, nope, we got to make it harder now. So
it is funny because I run ads and have visibility to enough ads accounts. I can kind of see when a group of people are inside of some sort of test cohort because everybody's ads will be running great. But this group of people, their ads all flatlined on a certain date and went from working to completely not working. And I'm oh, cool. Facebook's trying something new with these folks. So usually when that happens, I have to kill the ads and just remake them. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just remake the ads exactly as I had them before, because the AI targeting is so gooey now that you can make the same ad 10 times and each time it will reach different people. You just have to kind of just keep rolling the dice.
Now, let me ask you this, because I have a theory about, no one knows apart. Even the programmers don't really know because they only worked on part of it, right? And it's grandfathered on top of other stuff. So the way the audience works is you're putting in these manual targets if you put in the manual targets, and it uses those as a guideline. And then what it always does is throws it out to the low-hanging fruit. That's why you always see at the beginning your followers on Facebook and the people that always click on stuff, like it and comment and everything, right? So it's like, I think someone described it to me once as the rings in a pool going out, you drop in a still pool. And then it goes out to the next one. And so it was always dependent on who it hit and who it decided were worthwhile in the first ring to what it goes to the second ring. So it's forever been that way, where even if you set the same two audiences, it'll never go the same way. But it feels like now it's that on steroids, right? It's really more unpredictable.
Yeah, like it used to kind of drop the first pebble, for example, into the pool for thinking like echoing rings, like exactly where you told it to. It was going to start right there. And now it just seems like it's just hucking it anywhere in the pool to start with, It's just lobbing it any which way. The big change that I now tell people to make is we need to focus more on our ad creative. Assume that your ad is going to be shown to people who don't read books, who don't read your genre. Basically, your ads need to filter out as much as they filter in. And we do that with the creative. I always say, like, never put your book cover on your ad because Facebook will charge you more money if you do. Now you have to, because otherwise it's going to show it to non-readers and they're going to click thinking it's a video game or who knows what. So you have to put your book cover on there in the corner, but to signal that it's a book. I just find, but not everybody reads everything. I'm sure you've all been amazed at how people simply don't, as readers, don't read things very well.
Oh, very little. Very little.
So my mantra is try to imagine all of the possible ways that people are going to misinterpret what your ad's about, and they'll still surprise you. But make it as idiot proof as possible for what it's about, because you don't know who's going to see it, and you're paying for clicks, so you only want to pay for the best possible clicks.
And since you're doing a lot of ads for people, and that's part of your service we're going to talk about, but like, what do different genres require versus like for romance versus thriller versus sci-fi, maybe?
Like in the graphic, when you're talking about having a cover on an ad, some you can have a big cover on an ad. Others you want to put it in the corner and have some action scene or something. What's kind of you see different?
I always keep the cover pretty small in the corner, like no more than like 1/3 by 1/3 the cover. So like I guess 1/9 in total of the cover of the ad image is the cover.
That's a lot of math, Mal.
I was going to say you just lost Doug. Try and stay away from math.
So I do that. And then I also now put text on the ad because people kind of are used to seeing memes where it's a picture with text over top. So I want my ad images to look like that. And going to people not reading, a bunch of tests have been done. And a lot of people now, they look at the picture. If they like the picture, they click. If they don't like the picture, they just scroll on by. They don't read a lot of the text around the picture anymore. So I used to do the same thing as Steve Higgs would say. I just like make it so that your headline says reading or story and stuff like that. And I still do that. But I'm like, wow, if I could just make it unbelievably obvious that this is a book by just putting a picture of a book on there, that's just going to be hopefully idiot proof. It's not perfect because there's a better idiot out there all the time. But
oh, believe me, we're building the most amazing idiots.
That hurt a little bit. I feel like you're talking about me, Nick.
No, I was not. I was not talking about you. I mean real idiots, Doug, not just, the regular kind like you and I.
Just a general idiot. Just like, okay. So, all right, but can I ask you about targeting then? Like, so, like you're saying, if I'm putting out a Facebook ad, I'm not necessarily going to be targeting people who are reading. Does that mean I shouldn't go in and go reading as one of my targets, or it used to be Kindle? I mean,
you should still do that because you want to at least harangue the Facebook AI to throw the pebble somewhere nearby where you want it to be. The better starting point you can give it, the better off your ad's going to be. And especially if you switch from the Advantage Plus back to the original audience and all that, it actually will start showing the ad where you tell it. And depending on your genre, you have to be more or less constrained. Like you writing thrillers. Thrillers is actually the only genre where you can run your ads to both men and women and have it work really well. Every other genre, you pretty much need to pick one because one's going to work a lot better than the others. Fantasy and sci-fi are kind of getting there, but thrillers have slightly more women reading them than men. But the men are usually a little bit cheaper to reach. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Men are always cheaper to reach. It doesn't take much for us.
It's true.
We're beer and boobs, and I'm set. I'm just
So, a side question about audiences and audience size, because that's always a big question, right? And obviously, it's tied to the goal of the ads you're running. So, if you're running a countdown for a week and you want to hammer out an ad, you're going to run to a more direct, smaller audience, I presume. But then if you're trying to get an evergreen ad that'll last a while, what are you looking at audience size that's got a chance of working?
If you want it to be evergreen, it needs to be at least 1 million people. If it's smaller than that, then it just won't work. And even if you want to run where you want to really hammer it, you probably need like 100,000. The reason being is that you're never, ever going to reach all the people in that audience, because that audience is like the total addressable audience of people that Facebook knows about that would have that interest. But some people, I know, shocker, they're not on Facebook that often. They're on like once a month, but they're counted in that. Other people are shopping for more expensive things. And Facebook knows how much our products cost, and it knows it can't charge us that much. But it can charge someone selling a Land Rover $5 a click. And Land Rover will happily pay $5 a click. So Facebook only shows our ads to people who basically aren't buying anything else right now. Unless they're buying like a package of screws, we're in that price range. So yeah, so anybody shopping for anything more expensive than nothing basically isn't seeing our ads either. So that's why you have to build really big audiences, because you're still actually just going to actually get a sliver of that audience.
Interesting. One of the reasons I asked, I'm fascinated, but I've had 2 ads that have been what I would call evergreen. They've worked for 14 months for me really well. They've been my best 2 ads, and I keep testing and hammering and trying to get something else, and they just have been the best up until about 2 months ago. But those had audience sizes in the US of over 6 million, and they've been really steady up until Facebook seemed to derail a few months back, more than anything.
Facebook rolled out 3 new AI models around that time, a variety of different things. And I saw a lot of ads just dry up.
And they've changed a lot about what they're showing on the feed, right? They pulled filters off, and it seems when I go on, I hate it, but I go on because my ads are on there and my audience is on there. And, but I go on my author page, and what they're showing me in my feed now is like, why the hell are you showing me this half the time?
I know, it's always my books, right? You're always like seeing my stuff, right? You're like,
Yeah, I see posts from people that I've never interacted with.
Well, and it's weird. Like Nick and I, we're good friends. We talk on a daily basis, and I will be 5 days before I even see a regular post of his. My wife commented the other day that, like, she goes 2 weeks in, she goes, "You posted." Well, and she even runs my Facebook page. She's like, "I just now saw this post that I did like 2 weeks ago." It's kind of crazy how delayed it can be on some of that.
Yeah, it's really weird. They did a thing deliberately. I think they started it like a year ago. I forget when it was. Zuck even announced it, where they wanted to make it so that you would see a broader range of content, because they were afraid the platform was getting too siloed. But now the way it seems to work is that I never see anything from my close friends, and all the posts I see are from randos I've never interacted with.
And don't want to interact
and don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I mean, it's probably no surprise that I'm left of center. Let me just put it that way, in every way. if there's a derogatory way, that probably works too. But then like most of the posts I see are from people who would abhor me if they knew me.
Oh my, yes, they're all over the place right now.
Yeah, but somehow they're friends with me too.
Yeah, well, that's the case too sometimes. So.
And I'm like, A, how'd you ever friend me, and why? And B, why haven't you unfriended me before now? Facebook's just finding them, like pulling them out of the woodwork. And I think the reason why is that what they've really decided is that to get engagement, they're just falling into any engagement is good engagement, and conflict is the easiest one to get. So they're basically making the platform smash people together.
Angry fighting. Yes. So 2 quick questions to kind of go with it. But first, I'm kind of curious, like a lot of times, you do the Facebook ads. what about sending those ads to Instagram, since it's all like in the same Meta Business Suite? Do you recommend that? Should we be advertising on Instagram, or is that
absolutely? Actually, yeah. There's
good, because I've been doing it and I was hoping it was working. So
yeah, and the big thing with Instagram is that still images don't do well on Instagram. You have to do video if you want Instagram to show it a lot. You'll get some of your still images to show.
Doug's all about video these days. Ashley's cranking the vids.
Ashley's cranking some. She's doing some good stuff right there. So,
excellent, yeah. Because what the interesting. So if you get video, they're still going to show more on Facebook, because Facebook just has more people on it than Instagram. But if you want them to show it all on Instagram, they have to be video, and of course they have to be like the real format, 9:16. If in certain genres, and I haven't looked at thrillers written by men recently to sort of see what they are, but in a lot of genres, there are more readers on Instagram now than there are on Facebook. And they're also predominantly younger. So if you want to try and reach a younger audience, and the interesting thing with the younger audience is they're actually more likely to buy than an older audience. Older audiences are all on KU. Younger audiences actually buy books. They're all on Instagram. That's where you have to find them. I always recommend everybody do multiple strategies. You run ads that are maybe a little bit more focused on an older audience, maybe themes and elements an older audience might like. You run those as still images, and they're going to mostly show on Facebook. And then if you have ways of crafting your ads to be being appealing to millennials, which is like anyone under like 40 at this point or something, 42. Yeah, not me either. But those you would make as reels, and you would like think about issues they care about or ways you could phrase things, or maybe like funny Easter eggs that they might be using and stuff like that. And then you'll hit those people on Instagram.
And people are leaving social media. I mean, they're jumping ship and leaving social media, or they're switching over to the scattering of all the other things out there. Do you have any feelings about that trend? I mean, not happy or sad feelings, but about whether it's you feel people will come back, who is actually leaving, and if they're going somewhere, where are they going?
I think Facebook's probably looking at a long, slow decline. It is still much larger than any other platform. Like it's still 3 or 4 times larger than TikTok. Even if you take active monthly active users, it's significantly larger. The second biggest platform is YouTube. So I think if people really wanted a place to go to try to test ads, because anything you make as a video on Facebook as a reel, you could make it as a short on YouTube. And maybe you're not going to have a huge impact there yet, but you could start building your brand on YouTube. YouTube has a very different interaction model than Facebook does, though. So it's something that I've not found works really well for authors yet, but it is sort of an avenue. If you're making the content, you can put it up there. There is the angle of like putting your audiobooks on YouTube, but that's like a whole other podcast all on its own.
Yeah, that's one way we have not discussed it yet, but we definitely need to bring that up, because that is something that has been a big topic.
I did that some years ago, and it did exceptionally well. It did not cannibalize my Audible sales at all, so it was pretty good. But the other thing I think that we're kind of waiting for right now is who's going to come out of the ashes. Is Twitter going to like reinvent itself as a viable platform? I mean, it could. I mean, like people are switching back to Yahoo, so anything's possible.
I was gonna say I have my AOL disk. I'm ready to roll out and some. I miss some AOL chat rooms. Those were the best.
It's been a coaster for 2 decades, but I bet you that disc still works.
I don't have a CD-ROM on my computer, but still, I can figure that out. So.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all right. I'll break out that Windows XP computer I still got. This probably still runs better than...
It's in the garage. It's ready to go. So there's that. There's Threads, which I like Threads quite a bit. And Facebook has started opening up ads on Threads to certain advertisers. And they said they were going to make it available to everybody before the end of last year, but they haven't. But hopefully this year they do. So that'll be an avenue. Blue Sky might actually take off. It's hard to say. But I think no matter what, and I guess the question is, will TikTok even continue to exist? Who knows what happens with TikTok? But the problem with TikTok is they don't allow broad offsite advertising. Their whole thing is all focused on the TikTok store, which maybe at some point they'll stop doing that. Maybe they'll be like, hey, we'd like to have more money, and there's money in getting everybody to advertise their stuff, on our platform, or maybe they won't, but I think no matter what, I think in 10 years, Facebook is going to be something that like people laugh at you for real if you use. Right now, your kids laugh at you if you use Facebook, but right now, in 10 years, everybody will laugh at you.
But in my day, we used to. So we have another question we ask everybody. What do you think is your author superpower?
Let's take Facebook ads off the table, because you clearly have a superpower that is the marketing of Facebook. So not that.
No, I think if obviously not Facebook related, my writing superpower is writing an internally consistent world. And that was the thing I set out to do the most, actually, is I wanted to write a story where you wouldn't hit one part of it and say, well, that now broke everything. Or if they did this, how come they can't do that again later? Or something like that. So that was, and I think I've done a very good job of it. It's probably not perfect. There's probably somebody right now just moaning in agony over something.
In book 72, you said this, and in book 38, you said this, and yeah. 126 books. I would say you've done a pretty good job of creating quite a universe. I mean, as you get back into writing, and you may. You're going to stay in the same universe, still working these same stories over the next 9,000 years?
I have enough ideas for about 500 books to fit in this universe. And I would actually love to hit that. I don't know if it's possible, but it'd be pretty cool if I could.
Well, the speed you wrote 127 of them, I think you can do it.
I mean, I would say 1 year I did 44 books in 1 year. So
Nick's like I wrote 3 books. and I hurt my thumb.
Yeah.
So
I basically wrote the Bible every 3 months. Like in 3 months, and I wrote the Bible 4 times that year, basically.
Do you dictate or you just type?
I type.
That is incredibly impressive. So yes.
On my busiest days, I would do 10,000, edit 10,000 words, write 10,000 words.
You're dropping the ball, dude.
I need to take a nap just listening to it.
I mean, I can't do it anymore, and I also really recommend nobody else do it either. It wasn't a good thing. Also, like, you have to sit in a chair for 14 hours to do that. And my body is still recovering from doing that. Like, what that does to your body to just sit still that long is actually really bad for you. So don't do it, anybody. It's not worth it.
We need some, like, standing desks or some other cool...
Oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen tent. All right, last question, and then we're going to let you off the hook. So, Doug, when he finds it, has a wheel.
I got to find our wheel of questions. So,
all right.
Yeah, this is the fun part. Hold on.
That's
no
cool.
expense spared.
Some Jurassic Park there. Spared no expense.
Spared no expense. All right, yes. It's all for the sound effects. We always say that.
That's some good ASMR.
It is, yeah. It's got a little wobble because I took it to Nink one year and it got broken, but it's okay. Are you a night owl or a early bird?
Okay, so this has changed. I used to be an extreme night owl, like up till 4 a.m, sleep until almost noon, and I would get my best work done like after midnight when no one else was around. And then we had our daughter, and she is an early riser. So I became an early riser. Like at first it was just early risers be up, but then eventually I realized, well, now that I'm, getting up at a reasonable hour, well, if I got up just like an hour earlier, I could get a bunch of writing done in the morning, a bunch of other stuff done. So I've slowly shifted from going to bed at 5 to basically I go to bed now at 10 and I get up at 5. So I've pretty much completely swapped my circadian rhythm in that regard.
Mal, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much for the time you've given us. And what's the best place for folks to find you if they're interested in talking to you about your courses and what have you on Facebook ads? Sure.
You can go to thewritingwives.com. That's our main website. It'll actually send you off to a place called storytellerlab.net because we run everything on a new site over there now. But thewritingwives.com is generally easier to remember. We have a whole bunch of courses that people can get in on. It's $37 a month for access to everything I know.
Oh, wow. That's a deal because you've had a lot of information here. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we've got courses that we update every year. We do them live every year. And then for the remainder of the year, people can access all the recordings. We do monthly Q&As. Actually, right now we're doing a Facebook ads course. So there's actually a Q&A every week that we do. We do writing sprints with everybody. For people that want a little bit more of a personalized touch, we have roundtables with smaller groups and stuff like that. That's at a higher price point, but for just sort of getting access to the information, the 37 gets you everything.
It's a good way. If you're really starting out and trying to learn, because this business is all about learning, it's a great way to interject yourself with other authors who can really help you. So it's almost like having a mentorship.
Yeah.
Kind of great.
Brilliant. Cool. And we'll put all those links in the show notes so you'll be able to get hold of it. And Malorie, thank you so much for joining us. And good luck with your Bible-length new trilogy that'll be out soon.
It's not a trilogy, it's 5 books.
5 books.
I have 3 more to do.
What is that? Is that a syncology? Is that a pentology?
It's a lot of bloody books. That's what it is, Doug. It's a lot of bloody books.
It is.
All right. Well, good luck and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's where I wish we had a 2-hour show.
I need a good 10 minutes just to kind of absorb all that. And
I know, digest. I'm running off to look at my ads.
I know.
Try some stuff.
Man, it's like drinking so much information, and it's great. I mean, that was brilliant. I feel like I drank from a fire hose just now. So
yeah. A good one, like a rum and coke fire hose with.
How did Doug die? It was a rum and coke fire hose.
Rum and coke fire hose with people squeezing limes into the flow. That's nice. How good it was.
That was really good.
Yeah. So that was Facebook. Where's it going?
Everybody, I think the thing is everybody's scared of. There are a lot of people who are scared what it's going to do,
everything,
what you can do with it.
Yep.
It's daunting. And we both run Facebook ads, and it can be daunting every time I run one. I've been running them for years, and I feel, I guess, daunted, whatever that is. But,
I'm thoroughly daunted.
I'm daunted.
It's always been hit and miss, right? That's why you test. And all the courses teach these testing methods, and all the testing methods are flawed by the fact that, as we talked about in the show, they don't run the same way twice. It doesn't matter. Right. You can run one, run the next one. They don't run the same way twice. So you just have to bear that in mind. And I think that what's going on right now in the world is it's become more difficult. It's become trickier. It's harder to test. It's harder to get them to hit. But if you can, they still work, depending on your genre and all that kind of thing. But, on the other side, you can go, there's plenty of other places you can go try. You can go to TikTok and see if you can get something to go there. And there's nothing wrong with trying some of these other platforms. And I think that you've just got to keep your ear to the ground and see what's coming. I mean, as Mal said, it's just know where it's going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, right? It's which is going to rise to the surface. I mean, we've got legal stuff going on with TikTok that we don't know where it's going to be. Facebook is blowing up because they're changing stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Twitter's a dumpster fire. Yeah,
I think there's other things, and we've been doing a lot over on our camp here, trying to look at social media, and it's definitely so important. It's going to be it keeps us kind of connected to everybody, so. It's something you got to, as scary as it can be, and as much of an annoyance as it can be to deal with it, it's so necessary.
Social media is not going away. What we've got now is changing. It's the same as everything changes and evolves, right? Everyone went to the cinema until they made these boxes that showed things in your living room. Going back in time, they're a wee bit further than I probably should have. But but everything's a moving landscape, right? So it's changing. They have a change of direction at Facebook and reverse a couple of things, and all of a sudden it's a platform that's more reliable again, potentially. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they've spiraled themselves. But
they're going to split off and create new, just like they do with Threads, and just like they bought Instagram. There'll be new things that are going to be geared for different things. I mean, Zuckerberg recently said that it's no longer a platform for connecting to your college roommates and stuff.
Right.
It's definitely, it is now it's a media platform, and so we've got to be aware of that.
All right. Thank you to Mal for coming on the show. That was excellent. We will definitely have her back as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
And a big thank you to Vellum for their support. You can go to tryvellum.com/2authors. And
I told you how much I love Vellum.
You have.
Oh my gosh, I love Vellum. I've been doing it this week again.
I mean, it's Ashley, your dogs, your kids, in that order, and then Vellum. I think that's the order. I can say that because your kids don't listen to the show.
I would tell them right up. The dogs do fall right under Ashley, and then there's also my grandkids probably. But
I forgot the grandkids have to go in there too. But Vellum comes just below that. I'm heavy into Vellum right now because I've just announced my new series today, which will be about 3 weeks old news when this comes out. I've got I've got ARC reader copies going out all over the place using Vellum.
Your pre-order
to put them together.
So
Pre-order's set, man. Set today.
Go get it. Go find the new series.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's the Cat Cromwell series, if anyone's interested. All right, and you'll get all that stuff in the show notes, as well as all the information on to reach Mal, our social media, all that good stuff. And look for new episodes every 2 weeks. Until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favourite platform for alerts on new shows coming every 2 weeks.